Hello. Today's episode number 126 of the Professor Slots podcast discusses a primer for beginner slots players. Plus, in this episode, I'll be covering the current state of slot machine casino gambling in the great U.S. state of Idaho. Thank you for joining me for the Professor Slots podcast show. I'm John Friedel, and this is the podcast about slot machine casino gambling. It is where I provide knowledge, insights, and tools for helping you improve your slot machine gambling performance. In case you missed it, on my last episode, I went over return to player statistics for Florida's commercial casinos from my weekly live stream Q&A session on YouTube. Further, I reviewed Hawaii's slot machine casino gambling in 2021. I hope you enjoyed listening to my last episode as much as I enjoyed making it for you. Remember to visit professorslots.com/subscribe to get my free report revealing the top 7 online resources for improving your gambling performance, including the one I've used as a top-tier slot machine casino gambler. Here's the audio recording of my latest live stream Q&A session. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, slots enthusiasts. How are you? My name is John Friedel. Welcome to Professor Slots, a channel devoted to mastering casino slots so you can win your way to success. First off, we've got a winner. CJ Slots of Fun, Jim, gave a $10.03 donation. We'll talk about how to do that later in the show. And look at that. We also have Chuck let me share that with you. Chuck has given a $20.14 donation. That is his 14th straight $20 donation, which is truly wonderful. Thank you, Chuck, and thank you, Jim. And we had a pre-show for like the last half hour, and don't worry, you didn't miss much. We talked about the weather and vintage slot machines. So just checking. One cat is here. One cat is there. And Rudy's over on the love seat. So I know everybody cares about my co-hosts, and I wanted to just kind of let you know where they're hanging out today. Right. So let's get on with the show. I'm still thinking about some of the conversations we were having. So today we're going to be diving into a trip down memory lane. Do you remember the first time that you went to a casino to play slot machines? It's something that we'll talk about a bit today because of, I'm not trying to encourage anyone to play slots, but plenty of people have made the decision, right? The parking lots are full of people who have made the decision to play slot machines. Some of them made that decision recently. So I've decided to put together a article, some videos. It's actually a video series, one a week, that'll be coming out starting next week, which basically helps integrate people to remind those of us who first started going to play slot machines years ago, that what it's like, and what that first experience is like, and other things. So we'll talk about that today. It's great to see you all here again for another Professor Slots podcast episode and live stream. Yes, this is a podcast episode, and many people will be listening later, but it's also a live stream. So if you're with us live, be sure to say hello, ask your slots related questions, and maybe share if you only have like 200 characters, but maybe share your first trip to a casino. How long ago was it? Was it last week or 15 years ago? I'll get to those later in the show. Thanks to all the early arrivals, those that showed up before the start of the show, and the friendly discussion we had in chat. The chat won't be available after the live stream. I turned that off. So feel free. Also, thanks to the many new slots enthusiasts that are continuing to show up at my weekly live stream. You are very welcome to be here. The regulars show up on the hour, and then the people who get notified by either the stuff I put out on Facebook or with search and browse features, they start coming in later. So right now we probably have, in fact, I can check. We've got 32 people. And by the time the show is over in about an hour, we should have well, last time we went to just over 90. So that's kind of what the difference is. Okay, there's plenty of things going on in the live chat. Let's get started with our content for today. Do you remember the first time you entered a casino as a beginner slots player? I know I do. What I remember most is being extremely confused. It was so dark, yet with so many lights, and the smoke was everywhere. Perhaps you remember something similar. My intent is to be genuinely helpful to slots players. What I'm going to turn that away. Lots of comments going on, which is great. We'll get to those in a minute. My intent is to genuinely be helpful to slots players. While I think I still have a long way to go before I've shared everything that's needed, I also believe I have been somewhat of service so far. But perhaps you have only just begun your slots journey. What have I done to ease your way into becoming a happy, healthy slots enthusiast? So this live stream is for you, the beginner slots player, to, well, help those of you who have been going for a while. Maybe you'll have a little stroll down memory lane here. Right. So my first experience at slot machine casino gambling was in 2003 at a small tribal casino. It was one of the Keewaydin casinos. It currently doesn't have its own website. It's several Keewaydin casinos in Michigan. This one that I went to was in Manistee. In the Upper Peninsula. I was taking a long drive back to graduate school in Iowa. I got tired of going past Chicago. So that summer, I took the long drive home to graduate school in Iowa after visiting family in the Lower Peninsula, and found a hotel at which to spend the night. A casino was located just down the highway from the hotel. I wasn't aware of. Excuse me. I wasn't aware of the casino being there until the hotel provided $20 worth of tokens to play at it. Not something casinos do anymore, where you have coins or tokens that are accepted. I remember feeling a little nervous about entering a casino for the first time of my life. I'd been to a place called Swartz Creek in Michigan, which had harness racing. Horses with little two-wheel buggies behind them. Not really buggies, it's sulkies or some term. This is not a show about horse racing or pari-mutuel wagering, as they call it. But I'd been to one of those when I was younger with my grandmother and family members. Not sure it was legal, but there I was. This was the first time I'd entered a casino to play slot machines. And I kind of wondered what my family of mostly non-gamblers thought. But I gathered up my courage and went on in. I found it to be a highly distracting place. I mean, please remember your own experience the first time you went to a casino. Maybe it didn't have smoke. Maybe it was non-smoking. Maybe it was smoking. It's all pretty, something. And so this was a time when smoking was more fashionable than it is today. So there was a great deal of cigarette and cigar smoke in the air. That was still true today in some states, such as Nevada, although ventilation has gotten a whole lot better. I saw a post recently that said, we replace the air in our casino every 15 minutes. I mean, all the air in their casino in 15 minutes. So yeah, it's gotten a whole lot better. Of course, that's COVID related. Okay. I'm going to show your post, Linda, because it's a promotion, but very few people are from California in the show, so it hardly matters. Okay. And nobody will see it after this because I turn off the chat after the live stream is over. I found it a very distracting place, loud, lots of flashing lights and smoke. There was a time when smoking was more fashionable than it is today. But I distinctly remember rapidly spending the $20 worth of tokens on slots and another $50, besides which I could ill afford to lose. At the time, I was a poor graduate student on a research stipend working a side job as a temporary instructor of college physics. I just spent my food money for the trip home. Did I win anything that first time at the casino? No, I don't think so. Why don't I know if I'd won or not? Frankly, how would I have known if I had? If I did, it wasn't enough to grab my attention. Did some numbers change on some sort of interface that showed, how many credits that I had? What was that? I knew nothing. So maybe a few numbers changed on the player's console, and the slot machine made an unusual sound, although all the sounds were unusual. So, what of it? From my perspective, it was doing that every time I made a bet anyway. And Linda, thank you, Linda K. She has given a $10 donation. Very much appreciated. I will share that with everybody so they can see that. On one of the first ones, CJ, he had said that he had found that I had a podcast and was listening to it. And I have to say, I'm up to what is it, 125? That seems wrong. More than that. But back on episode number 1, it's what I like to call #cringeworthy. But you just have to try. So thank you, Linda, very much. After, all right, so I left the casino. So I left the casino after having spent $50. I could barely afford to lose. As I continued home in that long road trip, I started thinking about gambling with slot machines. Since then, I've more or less never really stopped doing so. After a few months of dwelling on that first experience, I happened to be visiting the Omaha Zoo, just over the western border of Iowa in Nebraska. There I saw a casino, Lakeside Casino in Osceola, Iowa. Got to keep an eye on what people donating so I can recognize them. There I saw a casino, Lakeside Casino in Osceola, Iowa, just like saying Osceola, on the river. It was a riverboat casino. With those months of thinking figuratively behind me, I concluded from my first visit that I needed a rule for how much I should allow myself to spend. All right. This is not a tip. Okay. This ended badly. So I'm just letting you know how things got started. Maybe this something similar happened to you. So I decided that I needed a rule for how much I should allow myself to spend whenever or if ever I entered another casino. The careful rule I came up with was this: take a fixed amount of money into the casino, say $25, and spend only that plus whatever you make from it. All right. Those of you with experience at slots, can you see where the error is in that statement? Take a fixed amount into the casino, say $25, and spend only that plus whatever you make from it. With this simple rule and $25 in my hand, I entered that second casino at about 2:00 in the afternoon on a Saturday and left almost 12 hours later at 1 a.m. That's right, 12 hours later. Why? Because I'd carefully followed my rule. My error wasn't that I hadn't been, my error was I hadn't been prepared for success. This has continued to dog me ever since then. I'm just not ready somehow. I'd won, what was it? I think I'd won $5,000 a couple of times. Hadn't yet won a $10,000 one. That would have helped because somewhere between the 5,000 and the 10,000 jackpot, I won a $27,000 jackpot at about 5:00 in the morning, which is based on one of my strategies. Strategy actually 4 and 5, but that was more the morning after a promotional event. In any case, I was shocked to win $27,000. So again, I won. This rule didn't sort of prepare me for winning. So my error was that I hadn't been prepared for success. This has, been a problem. So the error which my simple rule didn't account for was this: almost immediately after entering the second casino, I won $500 on a 25 on a quarter slot machine. Doing so left me feeling quite emotional, which inclined me to try to stick firmly to the rule, which I proceeded to do. As the afternoon and evening passed into the early morning, I continued to win additional small non-taxable jackpots. Let me tidy up some things here. Great. Let's see, where was I at? Yes. So eventually I spent there was a question. There's a bunch of comments coming through. I think I saw something about Bali's. Did Bali buy the Eldorado properties? No, Eldorado bought Caesars Entertainment, who bought Bali's quite some time ago. So it's all in the family. Bali's was, for 25 years was the monopoly on slot machines. They had all those pinball machines and they went big, but then eventually somebody bought them and now somebody bought them. They're going to keep on calling Caesars Entertainment Caesars Casinos. They're not going to switch their name to Eldorado. Even the cards, the Players Club cards, are going to stay the Caesars Rewards, but owned by Eldorado. It just takes a while for these big companies to get bought and sort of like get things set up. Right. Eventually, I spent my $25 along with what I'd won with it. And so this was my second experience at a casino after Keywad Inn. So I'd gone from slots gambling for 10 minutes to a marathon 12-hour session. I did try to find a hotel that morning at Lakeside instead of driving home at such a late hour and coming as close as I've ever gotten to hitting a deer on the highway. Ever get like a Jeep Wrangler up on one wheel, or at least most of the weight up on one wheel? It's not a good situation. Do have roll bars, but let's not use them. In any case, yes, I think I've mentioned before that I'm not a Mercedes-Benz kind of guy. I'm more of a Jeep Wrangler kind of guy. That time I won a car at a casino, I was like, no, thanks. I'll take the cash. Then went out and bought a Jeep. Right. So the nearby hotel that I could have stayed at instead of driving home wouldn't accept a credit card, only cash. And that might have been the biggest lesson from the trip. It's pretty big up there. Two big lessons from the trip. One is my rules sucked. And the second is the hotel wouldn't accept a credit card. The hotel staff insinuated that people who provide a credit card would provide a credit card to the hotel upon arrival, but afterwards would max out their credit limit at the casino. And so at checkout, they wouldn't be able to pay their hotel bill the following morning. That shocked me. My point here isn't about my not being able to get a hotel room, but that this was my first real clue that gambling was complicated. It consisted of more than just the act of making a bet by pushing a button. So it exists in a unique environment where loud sounds, flashing lights, secondhand smoke, and even gambling abuses can occur inside the casino and outside the casino. How fascinating. So after my first two casino gambling experiences, I spent more and more time thinking about them without much progress and learning how to win. I wasn't yet thinking about how to win. However, rather, I was mostly thinking about the potential dangers of what I was getting myself into. So you can see how this might relate to people who are considering or have decided just recently to begin playing slots play. What are the dangers? So these are the things that I went through, the thoughts that I went through. Eventually, I made a decision to keep trying to figure out this whole slots gambling thing. I wasn't expecting to win any significant amount of money, not ever, but I was hoping not to lose a significant amount of money. I think, have I mentioned before, high hopes, low expectations is like a guiding principle in my life. So at the time for me, my primary motivation was wanting to develop better control over my emotions while gambling at a casino. When there, I was feeling overwhelmed by my strong emotions. I didn't like feeling ruled, at times almost controlled by my emotions. If my reaction to, it's a funny thing, years later, when I got back to, when I got to a state where the gambling was available to me, I realized that I needed to be more emotional in order to be more successful. So, you go back and forth here. If my reaction to these strong emotions was a personal weakness, I knew I wouldn't just find myself exposing this behavior in a casino. I could potentially be surprised by it at any other time. For example, while living my life or when working professionally, I felt I needed to understand and if I could address it. Turns out I did a little too well at that. And later I relaxed and less stressed, and that worked. Lots of comments. I can't wait to read them. We'll get there in just a minute. So with this reasoning in mind for proceeding with gaining additional slot machine gambling experiences, I took a long look around where I lived in Iowa for any nearby casinos within driving distance where I wouldn't necessarily hit a car late at night on the way back or hit a deer. Or miss a deer by inches. As it happened, there was a nice casino relatively nearby. This local casino, Prairie Meadows in Altoona, Iowa. This is on I-80, a major thoroughfare through the central part of the country, east-west. It had table games, floors of slot machines, a high-limit slot room, and horse racing. And oh, the splendor of the buffet. To all my senses, it was simply delightful. So with that limited assessment of a gambling establishment, after every month or more, I take my about $25 from my monthly stipend to go there with the full expectation of gambling it all away on slot machines. But would I? But that's my story. You can hear it, read about it, watch it, or even listen to it on prior episodes of my podcast. Instead, let's talk about your story. And first, we'll go to the chat. So let's check in with the live chat to see and to briefly say hello. Look at all those comments. I apologize if I'm going to miss yours. I think I'll start off where the show started and about halfway through all the comments. Again, I do apologize if I miss a question. I'm going to just try to scan these. I think that's more of a pre-conversation. I kind of went live. Busy mommy reviews. Good morning, everyone from the Sunshine State. Good morning, or good generic time of the day. I don't want to say that. That's another podcast catchphrase. Naral, near Brodsky, same in Florida. Very nice Florida statistics and show last week. Yes, I still need to publish the article for that. In fact, I found some more statistics that I have to decide how deep I get into it. I will mention now from last week. Last week's show, I went over our casinos cheating you. Since it's all state by state, I decided to do Florida. There's no state, I'm very briefly saying there's no state statistics on tribal casinos in Florida, but there are for the commercial casinos in the Miami-Dade County, hosting Fort Lauderdale and Miami. And so those seven casinos do post their returns. And so one of the things is Mel here? He and I were emailing, and we're looking at a different state. I'm going to do all the states, hopefully one per week, that offer return statistics and just see if they're cheating you. And but one of the things he pointed out is maybe I should take a look at some of the other numbers that some states provide, which is they will often report not just how much people won, how much people spent, and maybe even the percentage, the return statistic with a win percent. But they would often report to the state how much they spent on promotional dollars inside the casino. It can be $3 million, per month on a medium-sized casino. But they also have the monthly return statistics for a year ago. A year ago, December, for Rivers, Philadelphia, the one he and Mel and I were looking at, had an 80% reduction in promotional monies that were being spent internally to the casino, to Rivers, Philadelphia. They dropped to 20% of what they'd done a year before. So the things that you're feeling about, gee, it's so tight here, might not actually be making less on casinos. I'll refer you to last week's live stream on all that hour-long discussion. But it may actually be these 20% of the promotional dollars that which you're not seeing, and that hurts. So I'll wrap up this first Return to Player Florida edition article and get it out there, and its own little 5-8 minute video, whatever it needs to be. And once I get that sort of format set, then I'll be able to run through all the other states in the order that you guys have selected. On Facebook, I asked, what states do you want done? And I basically will run through them in that order. Anyway, I'll get that out. And once I do, it'll be easier to move through these things. Somebody in the live stream called me the godfather of slots, Jason. Thank you, Jason, I think. Busy Mommy Reviews said, I did the strategy number 1 and it works. Just remember that it works at 1 in 4 casinos. In the Midwest, it might be 1 in 3 casinos. So don't, you want to check it beforehand. I owe everybody at the end of my most recent version of that, because I did the first one like a year ago, and I don't even know if I'm in focus. But I said some things that were off track, not wrong, but it was like, what's that got to do with strategy 1? So I redid it and posted it Thursday, a couple of days ago. Seems to be doing well, but I wanted to add another video after that called basically how to test strategy 1. And I put a little sign saying coming soon. So I'll get that out to you as soon as I can. And we'll see how things go. So Sally is here. Sally made it 2 weeks in a row. Oh my goodness. Jen says not going to talk about the weather today. Sorry, we already did. But hers is really nice. Steve is here from Green Bay, Wisconsin. Yep, Linda, it has been a while. Sally, Indiana, the Empress. I win $10 on a quarter machine within like 2 minutes of starting. I was hooked. Little did I know, she says. So, and Sally says that was back in 1992. Let's see, Busy Mommy Reviews, the last video you made, you said that you could start with only $5 bank. Yes. I will get a video out on that shortly. You can find it in some of the comments. I don't want to ruin it for people. It should be only like 2 more days. Yeah, but I said $5. It's less, but I figured $5 is a max, so that would be fine. Right. So M. Reynolds says around 1982, approximately Atlantic City, New Jersey, Golden Nugget. See, when you think back, you're like, no, I remember really well. It's almost as memorable, or maybe it's even more memorable than your first hand pay. Which everybody seems to remember once you have one. And Robert Parker's here. Good to see you. Thanks for all the comments. Jim JN, 1976 with parents in Las Vegas. Awesome. Tom and Roe Love, can a player's card get tagged whereas it affects win-loss during that session? There's another live stream on that. If you want to email me, I'll at John at Professor Slots, where John is spelled Jon. I will be happy to send you the link. It takes me too long to look it up right now. And I will type my email address into the I can't type and talk at the same time. John at professorslots.com. Jon is how you spell John. And email me and I'll send it right back to you. The link to the live stream where we just go over that. So you get the full information. I need to make a short video, not an hour-long video for that. But maybe I'll do the test method for strategy 1 first. When you start a YouTube channel that's becoming popular, like mine is, it's almost like you have to have everything up at all at once. So I will get things out. I'm producing videos faster and faster. It's part of my requirements to succeed. I have savings and I'm living off of it. And I need to get back. I need to be successful if I'm going to be able to continue. Jan says, is Swartz Creek still there? Swartz Creek didn't have slot machines. It just had horse races, or rather harness racing. I don't know if it's still open. It's a pretty old facility at this point. Linda Casey says, do you only play high limit? There's personally, and then there's 4 professor slots. Personally, yeah, that's pretty much all I play. But there isn't enough people countrywide to just have a slots high limit channel. So in the last 2-3 years, I've been playing penny slots. As much as I dislike them, as much as I think that the returns on those I don't mean think. I mean, if you go to the reports, it's like penny slots worst. Every state except maybe one, and it kind of switches which one. So yeah, I play all of them now, and I'm trying to help my audience. Personally, when I go out, I do, bet big to win big. But that's been pretty low on my list of priorities, since I know far more about that than almost any other way to play slots. So I'm just trying to help people out with Dragon Link and some other penny slots and some things to do there, putting my personal interests kind of in the back burner. Right, Linda, Harrah's Southern Cal local casino. Yeah, there's a promotion that's going on there, but you probably know that if you go to that casino. Okay, Paula, who is not too far away, Paula, our moderator. Thank you, Paula, for being our moderator today. She says Swartz Creek, the town, is still there, but the casino is gone. I think I'd heard about that years ago. I used to live near there as an adult for 15 years. Michael is here. Fun remembering, even though not a single winning result on a poker machine. Yeah. Jason says, my first visit was 1998. Soaring Eagle in Mount Pleasant, Michigan. Yeah. Hit a royal flush on a quarter bet on Jacks or better. I've never hit one since. It's like, I don't know, going to the Olympics and getting a gold medal, when you're 17 or 50. And it's like, well, you can do other stuff in your life now. It might be kind of a letdown, but go ahead. Well done. Congratulations. There are so many people who would be so jealous that you got a royal flush. For everybody, that's video poker. Although they are technically a slot machine. Well, technically, it's so hard to get a useful term out of it. The slot machine techniques work on video poker machines. Right. So Richard is here. Harrah's in North Carolina. Harrah's in Cherokee, North Carolina. Penny slots. So this doesn't seem to be anything about history and where we got started. Okay. Yeah, Jan explained in the live stream that she's Michigan and Texas, although currently in Texas. Did you say sometime that you might come back to Michigan? You're missing the cold weather. Is that right? Sorry, Jan. Tom and Ro Whitlove says young players today are brought up and desensitized to first time. You and I started when casinos were a brand new experience. Sure. Brand new experience to everybody versus brand new experience to me. Yeah, I think it was a little bit more of the Wild West back when we were getting started. And now there's, rules that are more than a year old or 6 months old. Back in 1990, what was a tribal casino? They just built it. Everything was being built and everything was trying to be figured out. Kind of glad some of the people getting started now don't have to deal with the wild, wild west. So they say, for me, I attended grand openings at MGM, New York resorts, making it memorable. Yeah. Big events, right? Openings can be big events. Magpie 11, Paradise Casino in Peoria, Illinois, bus trip from Chicago in 1992. Yes, it was a riverboat, but they had to leave the dock. They've since removed that restriction. And so you sort of trapped on the boat and you couldn't leave until they, docked again and all gambling would cease. So I played penny slots and lost about $40, lights and sounds. It was fun. CJ says, I'm a late casino bloomer. What are you talking about? I'm like 21. Barely could start anyway if I wanted to. That's an inside joke. I'll explain some other time. Linda says, my plan for 2021 is to visit all Caesars properties. Good luck with that. Let's see. Jan says, yep. We already talked about El Dorado having purchased Caesars. Wow, just they keep coming in. I'm going to try to speed things up here, not mention every comment. Let's see. Okay. Orlando says, great video. I learned a lot from watching. Okay. These personalities. Right. Trying to keep things kind of going for the podcast episode. And Linda says, my husband doesn't believe that I have a casino slots mentor, aka slots professor. Oh, that got some attention. Right. Thank you, Jason. Jason has given $20.21. Used a Monday visit after special visit 5 pull method to win quick $800 this morning. Thanks, John. You're welcome, Jason. And I do appreciate how you've been very consistent about, doing super chats and super stickers. Thank you. It is much appreciated to keep my business going. Let me see if there was anything, just so many comments. I'm not going to be able to go through all of them. Let's see. Richard's all over the place, which is, great. Okay. So and lots and lots of comments. It's great to see so many comments. Skinny Cricket, I'm new, so I apologize for asking something I'm sure you have addressed many times. If you get a tiny 3-credit win on pull 2, is it that considered a win and you move to the next machine? Yes, that's one of the things I clarified in my latest updated version of strategy 2. Did I just see something? I think I just saw something. Yes, the first win is a taste. The second win is not a taste. The taste is, and I think everybody has felt this, the taste is meant to get you to stay at that machine. Spend that and whatever you brought with you, and it's very effective. So if people start doing this so much, my collect the tastes method, 5 pull method, casinos are going to have a tough decision to make. They can't say, well, we won't do that anymore, because they make so much money from it all across the casino. So yeah, that's going to be, people worry about. Magpie has thank you for the donation, Magpie, who has given $20.02. Thank you so much. But yes, people worry about my strategies, casinos counteracting them. But my strategies, primarily, money management, other stuff doesn't have to do with casino business practices. But my strategies are attacking casino business practices. They are doing the opposite, and they're taking them as an advantage play. And that's some of the things I'll talk about in future videos. If anybody's interested in why you're winning, a lot of people just want to win. So if they were to just, if it wasn't that they were doing them for good, solid business reasons, they'd change them and not have to come up with more. But instead, they are very focused on, the huge amounts of money they're making because they're doing that. And just because a few of us are kind of reducing it like a few percentage points, if that, they're not going to accommodate us. They're not going to go after us until I have like 1 million subscribers on my channel. Subscribe, please. That would help me grow. And a like wouldn't kill you, right? But sorry, we talked about my grandmother earlier, and I'm channeling her a little bit today. I'll try to be nice. Right. So, if we had 1 million, if we together, our community was 1 million subscribers, that would be, something where I'd start to think maybe some of the casinos might get interested and maybe do something. But at this point, no, we're years away from them taking a stand. And just to be clear, right from the beginning, I do have a price. It's about $40 million to shut off my website. But if later on it might be more than that, it kind of goes up with inflation. Sorry, guys, I got bills to pay. But that's never going. That's unlikely to happen, even in the most odd future I might imagine. Right. So I think I answered Skinny Cricket's question. Steve says, talks about a 15-second video I have where turning up the volume is a myth. But the big jackpot always does it on every live video saying 8.37 better odds of a jackpot. They can say it all they want. It's just not true. The reason why it's not true is improving your odds by 8.37% is too much. We went over that last week. All the casinos that have return statistics in Florida have a range of about 3% from the worst to the best. 8.37%. You'd never, the casinos would make zero money. It would spread like wildfire. The whole idea of doing it, and it's just too much. And that's how you know it's a hoax. Well, it's so much that I have to do it. No, it's just a sign. We could talk about electronics and how things are connected, but nobody knows about that. I know about it, but what do you care? 8.37%. You should recognize that is far too much. It's almost 3x better than anything you would do a cartwheel if you got a 3% improvement. You'd do a cartwheel. I can't even do cartwheels, and I'd still try if I got 3% improvement. 8 points? No, sorry. Doesn't make sense. Jason, Soaring Eagle is brand new. Still use buckets for carrying quarters around. People collect those. Let's keep going. All right. So sorry to miss so many of these. Linda says, John, what time do you usually play slots? I figured it out for my casino. Strategy 7 worked best for me. Downtown Cincinnati. Strategy 1 worked best for me at just outside of Cincinnati at Belterra Park. That was before they were bought by Boyd Gaming, and downtown has been purchased by 2 other. They've changed ownership twice since then. So basically, I use whatever strategy works, and that's why I'm trying to have like training videos for each of my strategies instead of just talking about the strategies, because there's details here. Right. So Dave K says, my first trip to Vegas was 1997. It's a good time. Good thing it's a long ways away. CJ said, accidentally walking into Harrah's Club at 21 in Reno, Nevada, where the average player age was 100. Oh my. Okay, so what year was my first casino playing experience? Well, I was 6, at the casino, and they didn't have slot machines, or at least they might have had machines. I kind of vaguely remember like something on a shelf or something back in, well, do I have to tell you? In the 60s, late 60s. Yeah, so but the first time was 2003 that I chose to go to a casino, and that's it's all in my book. Learning to Win on Amazon, or you can buy it from my webpage where I don't have to give up 70% of the profits. Right. Okay. Hi, Jason. I'm going to get your last question in. Uh, uh, okay, Jason. Hello, Professor Jason here from California. I have your ebook on winning on high limit slots. Love it very much. Help me win more money and more comps on my player's card. Kudos to you, sir. You're very welcome. Glad that worked out for you. Linda, so the 5-pull and high limit only on a max bet. What you're trying to do there, what you're talking about is actually strategy 6, which uses strategy 1 and then I'll call them micro strategies, kind of combining them, idle machines, max bet, a couple other things that sort of add a sliver more return statistics, percentages, win percentages to it. And so you do a little better. So watch my strategy 6. And you'll see what I mean. And I think that's the best answer because you can spend a few minutes on it and I only have a few seconds. 2003 into first place slots. Yes. Late but smart bloomer. I don't know. It was certainly an interesting time. I got a chance to see coins. Wouldn't want to miss that. I do history. Nobody really likes too much of that here, but I have articles on the history, and I think I'm still missing like American Prohibition, 1930s. That was rock and roll. You know, it just boom went worldwide as soon as Prohibition was done. Yeah. Okay, so where was I at? That was excellent. Thank you. If I've already helped you make money at slots, give me a tip, as many have done today. Thank you. Using the $ icon at the bottom of the live chat window. Here's how it works. Simply click on the $ icon and select the super chat option. The super sticker option also works, but it's not as easy. Using the super chat option, you'll see a sliding scale to choose an amount. You can type in the exact amount that you want if you want to, or you can use a slider. Directly under that amount is where you type a message everyone can see, everyone in the live chat. Finally, click the buy and send button where you'll be taken to enter your card info. Thanks so much for your support. Now let's get back to the changing state of gambling in brief. So as a new slots player that might have only made the decision to start playing this year, last year, there's a couple of things to tell you about. Nobody likes the history, but let's just go over the history just so you understand how things have changed so much. Legal large-scale gambling in the U.S. started in Nevada in 1931. I won't go all the way back to the American Prohibition. There was, in speakeasies, there was Las Vegas, of course, but also Reno, Lake Tahoe, and others in Nevada. It basically stayed there until legalized in Atlantic City, New Jersey in 1978. Legalized gambling in Atlantic City provided casinos convenient to gamblers on the East Coast. And this balance of gambling between Nevada and Atlantic City continued until around the end of the 1980s. At that point, everything changed more and more rapidly. Basically, in 1988, tribal casinos became permitted by federal law. Although tribes did not need to negotiate state tribal compacts with the state their reservations were located within, although they did have to negotiate compacts. So while the law came out in 88, it wasn't until the early 90s that all these tribal casinos began to open. But at the same time, the commercial casinos began, and these were in the form of riverboat casinos. It's a balance between the two. It's good to have competition, sort of, we discuss that. Hey, so I'm trying to recognize everybody. Cindy, McKenna, thank you so much for the super chat. She says, shared 5-pull with a friend, low bets in Washington. She has come home with a few times now. Got the book this week. Thank you so much. Right, where was I? Right, in the mid, and so in the early 90s, riverboats became available, and that balanced tribal casinos. And as was mentioned earlier, you had to, those riverboat casinos had to be casinos on water, or at least unmoored from a dock. mostly basically a barge, which has led to modern day problems. Part of the reason why I talk about this, some of this stuff is important now. We have these central computer servers. I'm kind of skipping a couple of decades, four, but we have riverboat casinos now, and we have central computer servers where they're connected, wired up, not Wi-Fi, wired up to each individual slot machine. But you can't do that on a riverboat casino. Why? Because it's not a floor. You can't dig up the floor, and it's not a floor. It's a hull. And so they have a serious infrastructure problem that they can't overcome. But some of these casinos in Illinois and Indiana are getting approval to have a facility on land. And so they'll be able to switch over. But these are the last of the casinos that don't have a central server with, remote control of changing the odds. So, but at the same time, in the mid 90s, and I don't approve, it's not a moral decision. I don't know, there is no way to win. And so I can't help you, so I don't talk about it. In the mid 1990s, online gambling started outside of the U.S. This got out of control fast. It was going to shut down every casino in the United States because, it's gambling without driving. But they didn't realize at the time that a good buffet is a big draw, and meeting other people and having the whole casino experience is what a lot of people like, and you don't get any of that online. So, but it got out of control fast with various legal restrictions beginning to protect players about wire transfers outside of the state and all that. So for a while, this protection was to block online gambling in the continental U.S. By doing so, the U.S. Senate was not just protecting players, but also land-based casinos hurt by online gambling from outside the U.S. Not long after, Canada did the same. Besides tribal gaming, this was the limit of federal laws restricting gambling in the U.S. until the banning and recent unbanning of sports betting at the federal level. What all this means is simple. Gambling has become prevalent in the U.S., especially the most popular type of gambling there is, slot machine casino gambling. There's another side of the coin, as it were, pardon the pun, to all this growth and expansion of gambling. All of those changes in the gaming industry in the U.S. and abroad, the technology of gambling was also growing and expanding. For example, as you might imagine, the impact of microchips in the internet was profound to slots. For a succinct article capturing these near constant technological developments of slot machines, see my Ultimate Guide to Slot Machine History article. My point of view is that slot machine casino gambling has changed a lot in the last few decades. Further, I believe that these changes will keep on happening. Knowing what has happened in the past will help us understand the future. Some of the biggest changes occurring right now are related to slot machines no longer being fully random. A lot of people don't seem to get what random is. Random is like that Facebook meme. You had one job. It has one job. And I need to do a video on this so it's clearly explained. I have to use concepts and figure out the right way to explain frequency distributions. Pardon me for offending your ears by even using such big words, but I need to work on having that. So, as I have said elsewhere, you can win if you have your casino might have done one of several things, and you can win. It's not about being lucky or luck helps, don't want to rule it away. Lightning can strike. But you can also learn to win. And so that is something I want to share with new slots enthusiasts. I talked a little bit about these central servers. That's part of it. One of the things two reasons why the casinos went to those, and kind of going back to my discussion about will casinos ever kind of turn these things off to prevent us from winning? No, absolutely not. They got rid of an army of slot mechanics. So they just have the ones now that clean the events and do the maintenance on slot machines. Where before they had so many more, and payroll costs are huge. So for talented people who have that kind of responsibility, so they got rid of that workforce. They are also able to, instead of having them open up the doors and change the odds like you would from a machine from the 2009s, or even 90s, ever since microchip, but to be able to make those changes that they've always done since microchips came out, to make those changes, now they can do it remotely, which like I said, they've always done, from back to vintage machines that were mechanical, entirely mechanical, not electric. So because that option is now remote, they can do it faster instead of, physically walking out to a slot machine, opening it up. They took like 10 to 2 weeks, 7 to 10 days, call it, to get through every 3,000 slot machines with an army of slot attendants, slot mechanics. And now they can do it just so much faster. And so they do several times a day. And that means they also collect the data from the slot machines about how much it's earned and how much it spent, and to have an idea what their financial performance metrics would be. Because before, it was 7 to 10 days. If you adjust the odds, then you get the results, and you adjust the odds and you get the results. Well, when it's 7 to 10 days, that was not good for their getting the metrics. So now they can do that several times a day, but they can't do it instantly. It takes about 4 hours. It used to take 5. It might someday, another few years, 3. And so that's why I suggest going 4 o'clock in the morning, the day after a busy event, or possibly a holiday if it was a busy holiday. This collection of analysis is another secret, another thing they don't want you to know about. And it's a way to use that to win. So again, I'm using common business practices, casino business practices, as against them. So that's the secret to winning at slot machine casino gambling. It's maybe a bit more than the beginner slot player needs to know, but you just need to know that you can learn. There are patterns, and if you look for them, you can find them. So let me see where we are at. I want to leave some things for the videos, that are weekly videos that are going to come out in this series. Looks like there's a lot of comments, lots of agreement. Yeah. Isn't there so much history? Dave K says, on the History Channel, a jewelry maker duplicated slot coins all over the country and eventually got caught. A minor crime when he got caught. There's old, 8.2%, 8.37%, because if you turn the volume all the way up, back then there was like, well, if you drop your coins in a sequence, so this is even in one of the Ocean's movies, what is it called? The Susan B. Anthony con? I don't know if they made that up or not, but that myth was something that was very popular back when coins are out. Of course, now it means nothing because not having coins, but the sequence and the speed at which you drop coins. There's some of that history is like, when you live through it, it's what you remember. What is my bankroll for high limit play? My bankroll primarily was for strategy 7, where I'd come back a week later. It was about $2,500. Sometimes I'd bring 3,000, between 2,500 and 3,000. But once I found the other casino was doing this strategy 1, all I needed was $500. And I was like, if you can find a casino that does that, and it's about, like I said, 1 in 3 in the Midwest, 1 in 4 in California, casinos, why would you ever, have to dig out $3,000 when $500 would do the trick? On the other hand, I was in and out the door in under an hour. And, with my money, as you might have seen in my most recent video, $6,000 in like an hour and I spent $500 to get $6,100. Why would I do anything else when that was working? Let me stop showing Cindy. Right. Questions. We've got another 2 minutes, maybe. Linda's at Harris SoCal today and tomorrow, and enjoy your time. We're all saying now, enjoy your time. Sally's like, oh, we are the same age then. Some online stuff that always perks up interest every time I mention it. Debbie says she goes mostly to Hollywood and Maryland Heights. What state is that? Lately, I've been trying late during the week. I had one really good session on a Monday night. I do once in a while go to Maristar. It sounds like Missouri, maybe Colorado. Sally says she digs the history stuff. Any thunder? Let's see. Yeah, I saw something on my channel comment section where Red Hawk in California is a place where the strategy one works. So they say. People are talking about what casinos. Yeah, it gets very loud. Have you ever thought about taking like ear protection to a casino? You can get the little ones that are low observables. I use them to mow the lawn, so I don't have to lose my hearing. Linda says, thanks, John, for all your hard work. Much appreciated. And you're welcome. Jason Barney says, San Diego is about 3 hours from the valley. Always took the charter buses. Yeah, sorry, Cindy, I left yours up for far too long. I apologize. Nothing to be done about it now. It's in YouTube hands. I'll make you famous. Tony619, when you start playing a slot, do you start betting high? No, that's something I'm going to follow up with. Really, you're trying to, on my latest video, to explain how to test things with like $5 and gain some confidence that something works before you invest. But on the other hand, I'm having a hard time convincing people to do that. Guess what? You're gamblers. You just go and gamble. Being cautious is not exactly in your vocabulary as much as I try to push it. So thank you for saying it's a great episode, Jim. Appreciate that. And thank you, Jan, for your comments. Cindy says, my 15 minutes. I'm sorry. Did I take it up? I should have left you a couple of minutes for posting your picture for so long. Right. Again, thank you so much. I'm like a minute over, and I will talk to everybody later. If you're on the live chat, or excuse me, if you are waiting for the next, thanks for a great show. If you're listening on the podcast, stick around and I will be moving into the next segment of the show on Idaho slots in 2021. As always, have fun, be safe, and make good choices. Bye. Remember to visit ProfessorSlots.com/subscribe to get my free report revealing the top 7 online resources for improving your gambling performance, including the one I've used as a top-tier slot machine casino gambler. This is the next segment of the show on slot machine casino gambling. Here I provide a brief overview of the current state of gambling in a U.S. state, territory, or the federal district, emphasizing by far anything of interest to slot machine casino gamblers. Up next is Idaho slot machine casino gambling in 2021. Here goes. Idaho slot machine casino gambling consists of 6 tribal casinos ranging from truck stops with slot machines to casino resorts. The minimum legal gambling age in Idaho depends upon the gambling activity. For land-based casinos, bingo, the lottery, and pari-mutuel wagering, it's 18. For poker rooms, it's not available. The state originally adopted criminal and constitutional prohibitions against Class 3 gaming, except for pari-mutuel betting and a state lottery. After challenge from the tribes, ultimately the state amended its constitution to allow these Vegas-style gaming machines. The maximum bet in Idaho is $50. Next up is a usually short statement about slot machine private ownership, which I have included in case you live in this U.S. state and are considering owning a slot machine. Here it is. In Idaho, it is legal to own a slot machine privately if manufactured before 1950. Idaho does not have a state gaming commission. Instead, it has state tribal compacts with the 4 federally recognized American Indian tribes in Idaho. These negotiated compacts determine Idaho's gaming regulations along with its enforcement. In this section, I'll discuss Idaho gambling establishments. There are 6 American Indian tribal casinos in Idaho. The largest casino in Idaho is Coeur d'Alene Resort Hotel in Worley with 1,600 gaming machines. The second largest casino is Shoshone-Bannock Casino Hotel near Pocatello and Blackfoot with 900 gaming machines. There are no non-tribal commercial casinos with slot machines in Idaho. There are 6 tribal casinos in Idaho. As usual, when there are too many casinos to mention here, a complete list along with a casino map are on my webpage for this state at professorslots.com/ID. As an alternative to enjoying Idaho slot machine casino gambling, consider exploring casino options in a nearby state. Bordering Idaho is, to the north, British Columbia, province of Canada, to the east, Montana and Wyoming, to the south, Nevada and Utah, and to the west, Oregon and Washington. To visit any of my articles on these U.S. states, simply visit professorslots.com followed by its 2-letter postal designation. For example, my Montana slots article is available at professorslots.com/MT. Are you interested in sharing and learning with other slots enthusiasts in Idaho? If so, join our Idaho Slots community on Facebook at professorslots.com/FBID. All you'll need is a Facebook profile to join this private Facebook group freely. There, you'll be able to privately share your slots experiences as well as chat with players about slots gambling in or near Idaho. Again, use this convenient link I've created to go directly to our group on Facebook, professorslots.com/FBID. Join us. Idaho's tribal state compacts do not require a minimum theoretical payout limit. Further, these gaming compacts don't require reporting return statistics to the state. In summary, Idaho slot machine casino gambling consists of 6 tribal casinos offering video slot machines, electronic pull tabs, and competition-style bingo machines. Some casinos also offer electronic forms of poker, keno, roulette, and blackjack. In the last year, Shoshone-Bannock Casino Hotel has become the second largest casino in Idaho with 900 slot machines, exceeding Clearwater River Casino and Lodge with its 601 slot machines. Remember to visit professorslots.com/subscribe to get my free report revealing the top 7 online resources for improving your gambling performance, including the one I've used as a top-tier slot machine casino gambler. Part 1 of the next episode of the Professor Slots podcast will include a live stream Q&A session on YouTube. Remember, my weekly Q&A session on YouTube is on Saturdays from noon until 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Bring whatever slots questions you have, and I'll do my best to answer them. An easy-to-remember link to my YouTube channel is youtube.com/professorslots. Feel free to stop by any time during my hour-long live Q&A session. Part 2 of the next episode of the Professor Slots podcast is another brief overview of the current state of gambling in a U.S. state, territory, or the federal district. Next time, I'll be talking to you about the great U.S. state of Illinois. That's the end of another great episode of the Professor Slots podcast. Thanks so much for listening. Show notes for this episode are on my website at professorslots.com/episode 126. I plan to have the next episode come out very soon for you, where I'll have more amazing content for the show. Until the next episode, have fun, be safe, and make good choices. Bye.